All right, we had a quick turnaround here. We are here with round one for Modern Horizon 3 Top 8. We got Nick A, whose draft that we watched with his blue-black deck, splashing white, which you can see, his opening hand, against Emmett, who had the Boros deck. So he had a few energy cards, but it was more like looked more just like a curve-out deck. Just play a bunch of two drops, interact cheaply when possible, and aggro the opponent out before they can set up. What's he got going on in his hand?
So looks like Emmett's going to keep this one. He's got a four-lander, which is not ideal, but notably he's got a Nyxborn Unicorn, a Glyph Elemental, and a Dog Umbra as his non-land cards. And then two of his lands are landscapes, which are going to pair really nicely with this Glyph Elemental here.
Yeah, well, we saw you had triple. I think he had triple Thraben Charm, triple Dog Umbra. So not surprised to see at least one of those. Nick's got a pretty nice hand here. He's got Sneaky Snacker on two. He can curve into Serum Visionary. He has a Reform, Unfathomable Truth, and three lands. So he's got his three. He's got a three, a four, a five, and he's got the fifth land. And he's got a plains. He's got his plains too. So if he draws his Genku, he's probably also splashing the appropriation, the black white card. I would guess.
I don't think he ended up taking it.
Oh, did he not?
He picked the Reform over
Oh,
it,
did
right?
he? Oh, okay. Well, Genku's in here 100%. I don't know if any other white cards made the cut, but this Glyph Elemental is going to be putting on some pressure here. Nick does not have a way to remove it, um, and he actually doesn't have that many ways to deal with a bigger creature in his deck. Like it's already out of range of Wither and Bloom. He has a couple Depth Defilers to bounce it, Demon Furier, Breathe Your Last, but he needs to find something fast, or else he's going to take infinite damage, as we say.
This is a scary matchup for Nick, not having seen a lot of black removal going around, and especially with this Glyph Elemental. Emmett's got another landscape coming down next turn that will pump that thing up to a 6/6.
Okay, he's drawn a breather last year. Second black is still two turns away. He has he's seething landscape in hand to go get a black, but does not have it on hand. I mean, like one of the best things he could have done would have been like Kami of Jealous Thirst, but Emmett would have probably just removed that and kept on attacking. So it's a rough matchup for him. And I mean, Nick's not doing anything wrong, right? Like he's playing his snacker, he's playing his visionary. Um,
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to see from blue black. It's got to be tough when your opponent's got that Glyph Elemental down early.
I mean, this is like Bristly Bill, right? Like Bristly Bill was a mythic in OTJ, and we're seeing something that essentially on turn two has more or less the same text box. You know, late in the game, obviously the Bristly Bill does other things, but in the early game, it's
So
just a gigantic creature that can't really be
Emmett,
stopped.
so Emmett's trying to Siege Smash for turn. I don't know if we're going to see that come down this turn. Maybe he's just okay with trading the Unicorn, but he does have a Siege Smash to blow out some blocks here if he wants to.
Not sure what the difference was, why he swapped blockers, but
Okay, so Emmett saying, I'm going to Siege Smash the big guy, get some extra damage in there. I think that's reasonable.
yeah, this is an interesting point, right? Like this is like where you're deciding what's more important, having the creature or having a bunch of extra damage. But he could have had both, right? He could have had four extra damage and still had his other creature. So he got in what for two extra damage during this?
For damage, yeah.
I mean, like reform is. I mean,
It's
it
going to eat it.
blocks, but
It doesn't belong.
yeah, this is where this card is not looking too hot. Yeah, that's what you hate to see.
It's going to be pretty close to lethal because Emmett's actually got a second Glyph Elemental that I think is going to get bestowed here,
Oh boy.
um, and a land to play.
Oh
He's one off, but
yeah, that'll
it's
be
going to be a
nine.
lot. Yeah, certainly not looking pretty if you're Nick here.
No, it hasn't been looking pretty since turn two. Like he's just, and again, Nick didn't do anything wrong. He just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, when the red white deck gets off to a start like
Oh
this,
no,
it's
wait,
it's
this
tough.
is this not lethal?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's
it,
got
it
it
is
because he
lethal
can
if he bestows on this. Yeah. So now it's 10.
smart.
Well,
I mean, absolutely brutal start from Emmett here, just showing the power of Glyph Elemental.
I mean, Nick could have almost stacked his deck and still maybe lost. I mean, he would have just put a removal spell for that Glyph Elemental, but he still would have. It was a rough go here. So yeah, he
Certainly one of
did.
the quicker Megadraft.
Yeah, so his deck building is more or less as expected. A couple cards in the sideboard I'm surprised to see are the Hydroelectric Specimen and the Amphibian Downpour. Other than
Okay.
that, his deck looks pretty much like we expected. He is playing a bit of like that little artifact package with Tamio meets the Story Circle and
The king.
the Kappa Cannoneer.
I knew I liked that guy. Yeah, so Emmett's deck looks pretty standard. He's got his curve is about what you expect. He's got a couple one drops. About 80% of his deck is two drops, and then it falls off from there. He's not I don't think he's playing Skoas. Nope, I lied. He's got four Skoas in there,
Might as well.
but
Yeah,
definitely
that's a
most of his
plan.
deck concentrates. He's
Yeah, I believe Nick put in an Ether Spike and took out a Twisted Riddle Keeper. Just said
that's
that
intriguing.
that big thing is too expensive. I need more things to do on turn two. The counterspell gets a bit better on when you're on the play. The 2 mana counterspell gets a bit better.
So Emmett's couple cards notably in his sideboard. He's not playing Wingets.
Okay.
Um, and he's not playing the Wrath, which I think that's reasonable to not main deck the Wrath in a deck like this. But I'm a little biased towards the card, of course.
Yeah, I never loved the argument of that. Like, I think like having a Wrath in limited, like not every game is going to go your way. You're not going to be ahead on board and putting pressure every single game. Like I'm realistic about that. I mean, obviously, I'd like to be putting pressure every game, but that's not the reality of the situation. Sometimes your opponent's going to kill your creatures and play three creatures, and your Wrath is going to bring you back into the game where no other card in your deck could. But I could see that in most games, if the deck is, uh, you know, doing its game plan, you don't want the Wrath. Unfortunate
Yeah.
mulligan here as zero lander uh, for Nick. That's
Um,
Emmett got
so
there.
we see a hand that's pretty representative of this deck. It's got a plains, a mountain, a mandibular kite. He's
Yeah,
got
three of
two
those.
two drop and the Nyxborn Unicorn and Felia, which is a good one. And then
Yikes.
he's holding Expel the Unworthy and Thraben Charm for interaction.
Yeah, that's basically what his deck wants to do. Two drops and cheap interaction. Makes sense. So
Wow,
Nick,
what a top deck here too. He's drawn Lelia, and if he can find his third land, I'm sure that'll be coming down on
oh
turn
boy.
three.
So Nick did put a land on the bottom here, and he kept Sneaky Snacker, a Curse Marauder, Depth Defiler. He's drawn an Unfathomable Truth, and he has an island. So he has a Curse Marauder and two 5 drops. So
Okay.
this might be another case of what we saw last game, just Emmett curving out. I mean, like he didn't do any. I mean, Glyph Elemental is a premium 2 drop, but like Emmett didn't do anything completely insane. He just played his cards as as they were, and they just attacked. And looks like
Unfortunately,
something similar might be occurring here.
Unfortunately for Nick, there's an Expellion Worthy and now a Fang Flames drawn for turn, which Sneaky Snacker really does not enjoy getting exiled.
No, I mean, is it worthy of just using it right now? I mean, possibly.
He's hovering the Expel, thinking maybe I just want to. Okay. It
Okay,
looks
so
like
it's
he's
just
going to be,
the dog, right?
yeah, Flash and Felia,
Okay.
which I think is definitely reasonable. That card is a house.
All right, he's
He
drawn
can
Kami of
even,
Jealous Thirst, which is like kind of the card he wanted last game, even though Emmett had the removal. But this is
okay.
like the 3 drop that you want against the red white deck. Like Seer Visionary, nice card, but not good enough against the red white aggro. This is the 3 drop that you want to have in play. Your opponent absolutely has to remove it, or else
Yeah.
it's going to trade
And
with whatever their best creature is.
of course, Emmett's got the removal. I'm not sure I'll want to use it this turn, but I don't think you can really let that stick around too long if you're trying to have an aggressive start.
No, you just got to get that off the field because even if it lives a couple turns, you know, Nick starts drawing cards, activates the Kami twice. It's going to be a lot harder to kill him. So this is where
Notably,
the aggro player has to do the threat assessment, right?
Notably, Felia can blink it out.
Yep.
which will let you attack. But at some point, it's going to become more of a problem than that. Yeah. So Emmett's saying, I don't want that around. Let's just get rid of it. Using his one piece of non-exile removal on it.
Like people always say, like, oh yeah, aggro decks are easier to play. I don't agree with that. Aggro decks have a lot more micro decisions a lot earlier in the game. Right? Like if you're the control player, you're just trying to stay alive. Like that's all you're doing. You're trying to interact. You're trying to keep your life total high. But if you're the aggro player, you have to make the right decision. You have to figure which removal to use, which creature to play. When do you take a turn off to kill something? When do you put more pressure? It's like a lot of decision points. So there was like this old adage that I used to hear, like, oh, aggro's like, it's easy, it's mindless. It's like, no, it's not. There are lots
It's
of
also
decisions, actually.
it's gotten a little trick. It's gotten trickier too in modern times when all the cards have 15 lines of text and it's not
Shit.
so drawn and simple as just I'll play my 2-drop then my 3-drop and etc. Yeah, so
Yeah.
now we've got a real powerhouse of a card coming down here.
Oof.
Definitely not one you want to see here, Nick.
No, and Nick he has a reform in 2/5 drops, which is not getting it done here.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
he's even
unfortunate
he
for him.
even got the land here to just. Hey, hey, hey. All right, he's got a reform here, but like, it's not solving any problems. It's just.
I mean, he can play his 5-drop, right? Like it's definitely the reform's nice with
Oh,
the Phyrexian too.
I mean, he could have
It's a
played the
nice little
depth.
combo.
He could have played the depth defiler and bounced the Lelia, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess he's thinking, let me get this reform down so I can swinging with the Accursed Marauder. Interesting.
And then you can sack the 3/3 also for the
Well,
Phyrexian.
remember we did say he's got
Alhambra.
spell removal.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fighting Flame, sure.
even worse.
Yeah.
Fortunately for Nick, he's just met a really unfortunate matchup here.
I might have a land here to get his free card to play.
No, so he's just gonna play a 2-drop.
All right. So I think he just has to sack the Marauder to play the depth defiler and bounce this Lelia.
Emmett's
Don't
also
know.
holding
He
his
has.
skull, so not a
Yeah.
lot of life left for Nick here.
Yeah, his draw was Warren Soul Trader, but I think it has to be Depth Defiler and Bounce the Lelia, right? Like that has to be the play.
Yeah, and I don't really think you want to be pinging yourself more when you're already at 8.
Yeah, Warren Soul Trader is not looking good here. Just like Nick had like it was the right deck to be in for this seat, but it was the wrong deck to be in for this matchup. You know?
Yeah, there's some games where there's just not a lot of things you can do, and unfortunately for Nick, this was one of them.
Yeah, like he didn't draw his Withering Blooms. He didn't. He just never got things going the way he needed it to be going.
I wasn't really
Yeah.
able to get his engine going. Yeah, so I assume this is gonna get Raven Charm next turn, the Death Defiler.
He will have to replay the Lelia to do that, right? He does need an
Yeah,
extra
that's
creature to kill it with the Thraben Charm, so
yeah. So actually, he can't kill the Death Defiler this turn. He's short of mana because his only creatures are 3 drops, and this Expellion worthy you would have to kick to get rid of Death Defiler.
okay. So he may have a turn of reprieve here.
Possibly, he's got at least one turn to kind of take a breather and try and rebuild against this board state.
We'll see what Emmett decides to deploy here, but sounds like he doesn't really have anything to get past this 3/5 at the time.
No, imagine he'll just poke with the kite, get
Yeah,
him one
he still
damage. But
gets.
yeah, let's choose the focus envoy here.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty nice one.
Bit of lifelink on the germ there too.
Right, he's drawn a Flare of Denial here, which you cannot sack the Depth Defiler, even though I don't think you would want to. It
It
is
is
not a
in
blue creature.
Yep.
Funny how they made this cycle in a set where there's a bunch of creatures that don't have color, despite costing colors to cast.
It is
It's
true. I'm not sure that the red one would be any better, even if all the red creatures weren't devoid, but
oh
maybe
boy,
the green
yeah.
one might be see a bit more play.
So Nick, I don't. I mean, I guess he could either play Soul Trader or leave up Flare, but I think he needs the board presence.
Yeah, it's tough to not want to just drop another creature.
Yeah, Truth's obviously not an option. You have to sack his creature. Flare of Denial. I mean, it counters the Lelia, but or the Thraben Charm. I mean, yeah, yeah, not too much to be done here. Thraben Charm is going to come down. If he draws a land, he can play Lelia too, and
Unfortunately,
make a big old
Expel
mess.
Unworthy can't hit the Soul Trader for 2. So Emmett can actually just clear the board here.
Oh, you can kill both, and then it'll be 6 damage. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So expel this. Thraben Charm that. Go to 1, and I don't think Dick has anything in his deck to come back from being at 1 life versus 3 creatures.
If only he ended up with that Toxic Deluge. But even going to 1, it wouldn't change much. He
Oh,
gained
he
a bit
did.
of
He
life
did
off.
go to 10. He gained some life. But he's still
Yeah,
going to be at 4, facing down 3 creatures with nothing to show in hand. Well, he's trying to cap a cannon here, so he cannot cast any spells. So that's going to be
well,
it. Emmett's going to continue on, so we'll follow him into round 2 in a little bit. Congratulations to Emmett on the win. We'll be back for the next round in a little bit.